Hello from Mindpads. TOK Essay November 2017. Topic number 6. The production of knowledge seems to require creativity at every stage of the process. Discuss this statement with reference to two areas of knowledge. Knowledge question 1. What are the components of creativity in production of knowledge? Creativity very distinctly involves blending ideas and elements together that have not been thought of or done earlier. In its most pure form, creativity represents originality, beauty, utility, and surprise. When the rare and remote association of ideas, elements, parts, and bits are combined or recombined in unexpected forms and functions, there is a spark of surprise. The ability to think outside the range of categories and compartments allows formations of connections that are not possible in a convergent thinking and working. These associations are not merely combinatorial, but unique, novel, and original, either from the new rearrangements of old ideas or fresh arrangements of previously unrelated and unconnected ideas. For additional content, read more at Mindpads.org. Knowledge question 2. How is creativity linked to the stages of knowledge production? Cognitive psychologist Scott Barry Kaufman, in his article The Real Neuroscience of Creativity, discusses various networks that participate at various stages of the cognition. These networks, namely the executive attention network, the default network, the salience network, have executive functions that involve various parts of the brain to move between focus, attention, memory, imagination, intuition, and recognition. In the early stages of knowledge production, in the preparation phase, creativity derives its roots drawing from multiple ideas, accumulated background and evidence, making subconscious connections to existing knowledge and making more and more connections over that. In the incubation phase, the ideas and connections just stay suspended in a wandering mile while the brain keeps working in the background through the archives of connections to find something novel, beautiful, and useful. The well-connected pieces of ideas reach out and surface in the eureka or light bulb movement, with the illumination phase dazzling with brilliance. Most of the time, creative geniuses have experienced such a moment in wakeful sleep, solitary walks or drives, and famously in the bathtub or shower. In the last phase of verification, the conscious or the critical mind takes over the process to examine and mold the idea to bring it to fruition. The 4 stages of creative cognition were originally proposed by Graham Wallace in his 1926 book, The Art of Thought. Knowledge question 3. How do various ways of knowing bring about creativity in producing knowledge? Cognitive neuroscientists, in their recent investigations on what happens in the brain during the creative process, argue that earlier notions about creativity are too simplistic and conventional. Creativity does not involve a single side or only part of the brain, and the right brain left brain distinction does not offer us the full picture of how creativity is implemented in the brain. Creativity rests on imagination, the spontaneity of intuition and of emotion, a capacity to see connections between different and unrelated ideas, see patterns in the chaos of information, and from memory, because to begin with, if we have more knowledge to make connections to, we will have more creative ideas. In our subconscious, we keep processing the influences from memories and experiences and go on to create new ideas by copying, transforming, and combining other ideas. Creativity, when embedded in the cognitive processes, both conscious and unconscious, involves imagination, intuition, emotion, along with sense perception and memory, depending on the stage of knowledge production process. Knowledge question 4. To what extent does creative thinking needs to accompany with critical thinking during the stages of knowledge production? Critical thinking requires close examination and scrutiny of ideas, concepts, facts, and evidence that, on the first glance, seems to counter the processes involving creativity. Fact and fiction appear to be at odds with each other when we consider knowledge production. Yet it is well known that great scientific and technological innovators were also great creative thinkers. Scientific innovation, the foundation of modern civilization, is preceded by creativity, and our civilization needs creative thinkers and scientists for continued innovation. The creative and critical thinking processes are not competing with each other in the choices of making something new versus making sound judgments, but are intrinsically tied to each other at various stages of knowledge production. In recent years, there is ample evidence to suggest that cognition results from the dynamic interactions of distributed brain areas operating in large-scale networks. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. For additional content, visit us at Mindpads.org, and for any queries, write to us at Mindpads.org@gmail.com.